Yes, thank you very much for the nice introduction, Michael. Thanks for the invitation, also to Maria. Michael and Maria asked me to tell you a little bit about open educational resources. And when I heard about that, I thought about it for a minute. Yeah, so and then decided to talk about my favorite topic about communities of practice. Yeah, sorry for that. I can remember that in the first summer schools and also in the Doschle Consortium, I really tried to tell a little bit about the theory of communities of practice to all the PhD students and so on, but I think that is forlorn. There are so many theories about learning and technology enhanced learning, and I have to admit, yeah, so I'm still convinced that community of practice is one of the most influential theories, and I will tell you why and also how it guided me through my research story. So I have called it today from community of practice to nationwide learning infrastructure and itinerary. Also, I have to admit I have looked up the word in the dictionary. Yeah, so its meaning is a travel report. Yeah, so and I'm not that good in English, as you have already noticed by now. Yeah, so I'm my background. I'm a computer scientist from Germany, and I have come to this field of research through a series of random events, I would say, and I stayed for it for a long time, and it happens. Yeah, so the last weeks I reviewed for a lot of conferences in computer science education, like IEEE, TAIL, and other conferences, and I feel in my inside a growing interest for educational issues in my own discipline. Yeah, that is a sure sign that you are getting older. Yeah, so and old people like me like to tell about the past. Yeah, so and sitting by the fireside and afterwards we can put our teas in the glass. Yeah, so so it's like that now. Yeah, so it's like sitting around a fireplace, and I try to tell some stories from the past, and perhaps there is a lesson in it, perhaps not. Yeah, so and perhaps you have better things to do, but that is how it is. Okay, so so if you want to switch off your attention by now, yeah, so just take this slide with you at home. So typical take-home messages. So my motto is that communities of practice are infrastructuring technology-enhanced learning. What the single words mean, that is part of this talk. Yeah, but I would be glad if you know that you can make a verb out of infrastructure. Yeah? So that infrastructuring is an activity you can do in your research. And I have three contributions, as I said. Yeah, so I will review some of my funded projects and what they have brought on the table for the way we develop learning solutions in communities of practice, so what we call DevOps use. And the second thing is that in the meantime, I think after so many years, we have really something built which can be used in many research projects, also in yours. And if you are interested in that, just stay tuned to our detailed project Michael introduced just a couple of minutes ago. Yeah, so you can get access to all the things you hear about today just through this project and the infrastructure we provide for ongoing PhD research. Okay, so what is a community of practice? This is a very old slide. And there's a standard definition I still tell also my students. Communities of practice are groups of people who share a concern or a passion for something they do and who interact regularly. And now it's come to learn how to do it better. Yeah, so that is, I think, the key aspect that we are here in a social learning theory, which is built on interaction of people sharing a practice. Yeah? So a practice may be doing scientific work, maybe doing claim processing, like Etienne Wenger wrote his PhD thesis about claim processing in a company, and that people learned from each other how to become better claim processors in an insurance company. So it was an ethnographically inspired study, and it's still worth to read, from the 90s. And he developed this theory over the years in more direction. Now it's very much in activism and diversity and so on. And I'm still following that kind of research. For me, it was a starting point to say, okay, communities of practice, claim processing, computers were used to do the work, but they were not really the medium to do the work. So how we can use the web at that point, so to support communities of practice working together in this new world of the web. And there are certain questions coming with that, like how can they record their media traces they are leaving in the software, and what can they learn from that? And a community of practice, so they will never get a ready-made infrastructure or learning solution for them. It means somehow they have to make themselves heard. So as a community, that they want to have support, that they can get support, and that is one of the big problems. So if you are a group of people and you want to do something you have done before with offline or in a physical setting, and then you say, oh, we can do it on Facebook like this. So you will see that it's not so easy to tell Facebook exactly what you want, and it's also not so easy to get these requirements implemented from Facebook. So, and Facebook will also not give you your media traces for free. So they want to make business out of that, and that has led also to a couple of questions. So what does it mean to be in this web world or in the cloud? And so how can communities learn to make interactions in a digital world as meaningful as they do it in a offline or physical world? And what can they learn from the disturbances they certainly will face? And last but not least, so the purpose of moving from one environment to the other is always to increase the agency. So that means as a community, they want to do things better than before, and they want also constantly to learn how to do it even better than before. And that is for communities of practice an essential question. So, and if you look at all the things we have done in the past, so we will see that we have faced a lot of challenges. And the challenges, I would say, that are mostly infrastructure challenges. So things were changing over the time. So there were a lot of innovations. So like we're discussing nowadays, like Internet of Things or wearable or mixed reality, or the ever-changing web. So then computing paradigms like cloud computing, peer-to-peer. Then also the relationship between learners as end users and learners as developers, and how learners can participate in design and learning and developing processes. And then also the world around learning changed. Yeah? So in schools, perhaps not that much like in workplace learning. This is my area of particular interest, but also schools and higher institutions are changing. So, and that means also there is a transformation, and this transformation is changing many of the practices at large. So, and so for this we have seeked a word, and colleagues of mine, they came up with this word infrastructuring, meaning that the way how we develop learning solutions is as important as the product. What is happening? So because if you are working like product or artifact oriented only, you have a solution which works for the duration of your PhD project, or for the duration of a funded project, and then after a short while it will stop working, because nobody is updating it. So, and that is happening all the time to most of the research results, and also in our project that happened. And what we tried to learn from that is that we set up processes and try to involve as many people as possible into these processes to keep the wheels turning. So after the end of the funding, after the end of the PhD, and we learned at many places. We learned from our research project, I will tell you a little bit about, but also in open source software projects and so on and so forth. Okay, so selling England by the pound. So so that is what I experienced. So that from all the from the research projects we did, not everything survived, but enough survived to make a success story over the years. So from the early endeavors I was involved, like the network of excellence in professional learning and the network of excellence in game-based learning. A lot of institutional things like the association ECTEL, like the conference ECTEL or the summer school or journals survived. The same for Gala, but also the topics and the methods survive. Like social network analysis or serious games, gamification. I've seen also one of you is working on that in the PhD. And with this network of excellence, they had a lot of offspring projects, and 2 of them have been rolled on the learning layers. And we did also extensive social network analysis on how all these projects are connected with each other, which is a little bit the background of this slide. So meaning that you can really trace in the databases how these sorry, projects survived and created new opportunities. So 2 of them, which have been quite large, should be explored a little bit today. So it was the integrating project ROLE, stands for responsive open learning environments, and it brought us a software development kit. It's still in use. The idea that learning solutions should be collaborative, which is good for community of practice. but also some kind of front-end ideas and the application of social network analysis. And the second one was called learning layers, and this brought us the idea of having an identity as a learner, which is not bound to the institution or whatever, but it's an identity you can take with you. It belongs to you. And also the idea to do cloud engineering, to have solutions which are not constrained by the available hardware or software resources of a researcher or a project or institution or whatever, but going beyond that and seek to deploy learning solutions in the cloud. Okay, so let's go to role. Yeah, so as I said, responsive open learning environments. It was about self-regulated learning, and what we built were so-called space collaboration networks, meaning that when we put together learning solutions, we created a social space. At that time, there were some space technologies provided by Facebook and others called open social, and we use that. And when we looked at it from a social network perspective, we could see that all these learning solutions were connected, so either by people or by the widgets the people used, or by the spaces people were using. So a lot of collaboration took place, as you can see in this upper figure. And if you look at some of these social network measures, I know who is not a specialist will not understand perhaps the every single meaning of every curve, but the reading is that the network of spaces densified over time, not to full extent, but it was observable that some of the parameters, like the existence of a largest component and the average degree of, that means the numbers of links between spaces increased. So at least in the observation span, meaning that people like to connect their personal learning environments with each other, learn from each other, and that was a strong indicator for us to continue with the idea of developing collaborative solutions. And the next opportunity to do that was the IP learning layers, where we wanted to scale up informal learning, again in a professional learning environment with small and medium sized enterprises, and we wanted to connect them by two means. The first was scaffolding, so we wanted to build learning solutions together with them, so, and also using scaffolding technologies. And later on, we wanted to foster peer production. That means collaborative content production within these networks. And look how that went. So what we realized here in the Learning Layers project was there was already an established movement of going away from isolated operations of IT solutions in companies or in in universities, more to a cloud-based environment, and also a larger impact of developers on the operations. Yeah? So, and this movement was called DevOps, and Dev stands for developers and Ops for IT operations. And here we have a clash of cultures. Yeah? So IT operations, they, perhaps you know that from your own university. Yeah? So once a year they shut down the computing center and say in the next 3 days we will update every system, and then after 3 days of testing we are returning back to normal services. And that was then all release work for 1 year. Yeah. So, and developers on the other side, they want to release daily. So new functionalities want to get to the users. And if you going to software like Netflix or let's say yeah, let's stay with Netflix. Yeah, so they just put new functionality on every day, and often you don't even notice it. Yeah, so that is this DevOps culture. Yeah, so and this is only possible to automation. Yeah, so that means you need to automate as much as possible in this develop, in this test, deploy, monitor settings. And this is established standard, but on the other side, we think that in particular in technology enhanced learning, yeah, so it's very important to include the end users or the community in these development processes. And we thought about how we can include the users in those DevOps practices, and that is yeah, what we mainly have research in role and in layers. Yeah, so like co-design activities. Yeah, so when you start designing learning activities or learning solutions, yeah, so how can you yeah, influence or have impact on the overall development process? So how can you be involved in beta testing? Yeah? So when the solution is deployed, yeah? So how can you share your practice? Yeah? So and create awareness for your issues or your success with the system, and how can you feed your ideas and needs into this DevOps cycle? And yeah, so at least in learning layers, on an anecdotal side, so we had some technology enhanced learning researchers which were able to create issues on an issue tracker called Jira in the course of the project. So, and that was interesting, like how technology enhanced learning researchers adopted open source software development strategies. And that was not intended, it was just an observation, but that led us later to yeah, to further research. Yeah, so how to yeah, make researchers more aware of available development tools. Yeah, so and make them fruitful for them. So that is the DevOps use cycle, and we have also described that in many publications. Yeah, you can read all the details about that. And one of my PhD students, which was also who was also participating in the JTEL summer school several times, he did an analysis of the 4 co-design teams in the IP learning layers, yeah, and he looked at the flow of information which were coming from these different teams. You see that they are in this box called Sharing Turbine, Pandora, Bits and Pieces, and Captors. And yeah, so and what kind of practices they used, and how they developed into like this scaling or upscaling tools we offered them, like the requirements bazaar or the Jira tracker, and that was for all of us quite a learning story. So that co-design teams were really able to talk to developers. So, and there was also by design, so that we had started a community of developers with their own technical tools, and they were taking part as developers in this co-design activities together with the researchers. That they really developed in many of these cases a common practice. So within this research project, co-design teams were able to start such processes and to develop a joint practice over time. And that was the first time I've seen that in a research project, it was possible to develop solutions able to survive the end of the funding period, and we were so happy about that we reported that also to International Software Engineering Conference, and got accepted with that, because I think that is driving many of us really made. So met in research projects that all what we have done in all these years. So it's aging so fast and vanishing, and after a couple of years, even you cannot access the websites anymore, and there's a porn web site which have captured your project name and so on. So and I think this what we have learned and implemented in both in role and layers, we are doing better now. So everything is available as open source. It has survived, and it has also with our infrastructuring survived technical deep technical changes. So it can be improved in some of the tools. So how can you imagine what is happening in such an environment nowadays? Here's an example from an IEEE transactional learning technologies papers, which was co-authored by 3 PhD students, which met at the one of the summer schools and developed the idea to do that. And I abstract a little bit from the concrete use case of this paper, just to show you what I mean. So you see here 4 different people which are collaborating over a cloud network, peer-to-peer cloud network called Alice, Carol, Bob, and Dave. And these are participating in different ways. So some of them, they have started such a peer node and have own access to the storage and also a local web front end, but you can also connect through a remote web front end like Dave is doing. So it's not necessary that you being part of the network. And it's not also necessary that you are one services on this network. So it's like well-known distributed hash tables, where you just when you start a node, you have access to the memory, but it's not needed that you are fully taking part in starting services, your own services, but you can. So that means You can participate in many ways with resources, with audio resources. You can provide a server, yeah, so where you can also run services, maybe services by others, maybe services by yourself, your own organization. In the end, yeah, so all these services can communicate with each other, and that is making up the ecosystem. Yeah? So, and how we develop that, yeah, so this is a legacy of role, yeah, so it's we do it in a collaborative manner. That means we have a collaborative space, yeah, which is built up out of widgets, like we use in role. And in this case, yeah, so we model the applications. Yeah, so we have here a modeling approach, and we model the web front end, and we model the microservices and put both together. And in the environment, you can always see the live previews if you can work on the code also, and then changes from the code are then synchronized back to the modeling environment. And it's really for communities of practice a nice way to use collaboration technologies which were used in the beginning for learning, also for developing. So as I said, developing and using learning applications is becoming more and more integrated because of this infrastructuring. So and that is leading to the last slide is the situation as it is in the moment. What we are running here in this network. So many institutions and universities are running such nodes. Yeah, so some of them are running learning services. We are running a blockchain. We are running learning record stores. So we are running advanced databases like triple stores. We integrate learning management systems like Moodle and so on. And we have a lot of APIs to realize the services. So also for this slide, yeah, so there are some papers available you can read when you are interested. But this is what we are doing in the moment, and everybody can join. Everybody is invited. It takes half an hour to connect you to such a system if you are following our scripts. So for the conclusions and the outlook, yeah. So I think we are on the way to have a nationwide or EU-wide cloud infrastructure for technology and enhanced learning. Yeah, so in Germany, there is a new national initiative called BIRD, yeah, so which is defining some of the standards for that and the tools. On the European level, we have the Gaia X project, yeah, so we have perhaps heard about that, the European cloud. And also here, there are endeavors on the way to connect to Gaia X. And basically, if you keep with open standards, like we are using with the OpenID Connect, for example, for identity management, authorization, and authentication, yeah, so you're on the safe side. If you want to test it on the practical side, yeah, so the DETEL project is providing a technical infrastructure, yeah, so like a Moodle, like a video conferencing system, everybody can access. But you can also become part of this network by providing access with your own server, providing your own services. Just contact us, yeah. So we are happy to help you. And yeah, what will the future bring? Yeah? So we have started some new projects. Yeah, so like the multi-site project. Roland is sharing. Yeah, so as a cloud-based multimodal learning analytics project. We will have a workshop on that tomorrow. Yeah, so you are cordially invited to join us for the discussion and the talks. We have also, I said, a blockchain, and we are working on blockchain based verification of learning analytics in that project. We have new paradigms in learning, like chatbots, so like mixed reality, and in the future we will combine that with intelligent virtual agents, so that will be the work for the next couple of years, at least in our lab. So based on this infrastructure, which is open to everybody. So thank you very much for the attention, and close now and open to questions.